Hello friends, this video on sorting materials into groups part 5 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. However, we have a lot of materials which do not have any luster, they do not have any shine on their surface. So some of the common examples are wood, cardboard. As you can see, this cardboard box, it doesn't have any shine of its own. You talk about a pen, so a pen which can be made up of a plastic, so the plastic doesn't have any shine. You talk about a cloth, the cloth doesn't have any shine of its own. Now in order to make it shiny, you might put some additional stuff and make it look shiny, but otherwise a cotton cloth as such will not have its own shine. The next property that we would talk about is hardness. Now when I talk about hardness, it's like, it's a very simple term, it's a very common term which we use in our day-to-day life. You think of a teddy bear and you think of softness because it's very soft and cuddly. When you think of something, a statue made up of iron maybe, so that seems to be very hard. Even if you strike it with something, it doesn't break easily. So that way is also objects can be grouped into two categories, soft materials and hard materials. So when we talk about hard materials, they are very difficult to compress. So you just cannot compress them, you just cannot stretch them. So they are very hard. So they retain their own shape and size. Whereas the soft materials, you can just compress them, you can stretch them. You think of the teddy bear again, so it looks huge, but if you press it really hard, so it kind of gets compressed, it kind of gets smaller, so that way it's flexible. So those are soft materials. So when you think of soft materials, you can think of a cotton candy, you can think of a sponge. So these are all very soft materials, so you can just press them, you can kind of press them into different shapes. Whereas in case of hard materials, you can think of the wooden furniture, maybe the bed, chairs, tables, cupboards. So you just can't press them, or you cannot compress them, you cannot stretch them. So they are quite hard. You think of a hammer, so that's again quite hard. So these are examples. So that's how, just by looking at materials, you can say which one is hard and which one is soft. Because how these help, so when you want to create something, let's again, the example of the bell. So for the bell, you do not need a soft material, you needed a hard material. So you chose metal. Now again, if you talk about metals, they are generally hard. So it's like they cannot be easily broken into different parts. However, if you actually start hammering them very hard, so you might be able to break it. But as such, they are like very hard and tough and cannot be easily cut. So let's look at this picture. This will again tell us about a new property that we are going to talk about. So what do you see? There are two roads. The first road which you see here seems to be very smooth if you look at the texture of the road. The second road which you see here, it seems to be, kind of rough. The surface seems to be rough. So there we talk about again a new property, that is smooth and rough. So certain substances, they have a smooth surface, whereas certain others have a rough surface. So that texture also determines a lot of things. For example, generally, let's look at examples. So when you talk about materials with smooth and rough surfaces, think of a mirror. So a mirror has a smooth surface, extremely smooth and shiny surface, because of which reflection of light can take place, and that's how we are able to see our images in the mirror. Similarly, if you think of a stainless steel spoon, so that also has a very smooth surface, and that also acts as a mirror to some extent. You think of a china bone plate, so that's also a very smooth surface, even though it is not shiny enough, but at least a very smooth surface. On the other hand, if you think of a place like this where you have a lot of stones, pebbles, and which makes the surface very rough, so there we are talking about a rough surface. You think of a wooden plank, so there again the surface is not smooth enough, so that's again a rough surface. So these are all different examples of smooth and rough surface. So depending on what kind of object we want to build, we can decide whether we want to pick a smooth material or a rough material. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.